Hello and welcome. I'm going to do a reading today. I'm going to try to keep it around 30 minutes. The whole video might be 45 minutes because I need to talk about just a couple things first. We're going to start out by getting some animal oracles to kind of guide the energy. There's a few different, I'm in self-care mode, so just excuse my patches. They're shaped like little angel wings. Yeah, there's a lot of clearing happening. I've been posting shorts for the last few days, but the energy, it's just, it runs so many layers deep. It runs so many layers deep, the things that people are moving through right now. And part of the reason for that, and this explains why I keep talking about past lives, my past lives, or the memories that I've been making more sense of than I ever have in the past, whether or not they're things that I realized or remembered more recently or in the year 2023, because I had a vast quantity of past life knowledge come back to me in the year 2023. Could be things that you've like known about before or not, but everything is connected. So these things that are part of your psyche or within the collective and the collective unconscious, these things are operating at multiple levels so that the issues, the emotions, the patterns, the resistance, the willingness, it's got roots in other timelines, really. So there are certain karmic clearings that are occurring that feel really deep. And it's like, why is this such a big deal? Why is this taking so long? Why am I having a hard time with it? Why, whatever you want. I mean, Seven of Cups and a few other things have been kind of confirming this collective confusion, but I think that it has to do with the fact that you're clearing karma. I am clearing karma. We are clearing karma for our souls, but it's stuff that's been accumulated for like lifetimes. And I mean, it just depends how tuned in you are, but you might be seeing visions of this in your dreams. I certainly am. Wolf spirit, turn knowledge into wisdom. Yeah, I saw something on number 67. I saw something on Instagram when I was lying in my bed this morning before I got up, and then love is all around, Nightingale spirit. It said, the age of believing is over. We're in the age of knowing. And there's like some danger to that sentiment, right? Because a lot of people, I mean, staying open to what we don't know and letting, I'm going to take that card because it came out. Letting the unknown continue. Letting the consideration of the unknown continue to open up space for more faith and belief. But certain things, right, that were, wow, previously more so only experienced through faith or belief have become more solidified in our experience. I can talk about this as far as certain elements of my psychic gifting. Yes, and I wanted to share about this. I said, oh my goodness, because look, we've got two long-necked birds. And I think, I mean, this is not giraffe spirit, but they have long necks. Giraffe spirit's about taking a different perspective, seeing the bigger picture. Swan spirit says it's time for a deep dive. And flamingo spirit is about embracing the in-between. So we'll get into that. But I have some new people here. If this is your first time watching me, then thank you. I hope that you don't think I just post videos about my dog. He's really cute. He's around. He'll be in my videos, but I'm a reader, psychic intuitive. I have prophetic dreams. I channel all day, every day. I'm almost always in channel. And because of that, I don't fully go into channel as far as releasing my identity. I still talk through my messages and weave my personal narratives into the things that I communicate about for the healing of the collective, because it heals me to do it. And the reason why I started this channel a year ago was because I was already having these conversations, and I have been for some time. But I just got the call to do it. So somebody who's very close to me watched my videos the other day, or has been, I guess, for a little while, and cautioned me against being too performative of my ego on YouTube, right? Because this is a public forum and a bunch of people use platforms for different reasons. I know that I have an ego. We all do. I'm not trying to perform it, but I also am, because number one, I'm silly. You know, if people didn't know this, I like attention. I want attention. I'm comfortable with attention. Is that the purpose of this channel? No, it's not. It's about the messages. And I have, if you do go back in time and watch old videos, like I've been wrestling with this for a while. You know, like how much of my personal stuff should I share? I get moved to share certain things when I receive messages and they're braided into this memory or this experience that I went through. And my guidance system and my spiritual team continues to remind me that it's less about me, but I don't understand that because I am me. But it's, you know, it's about being a helper and like moving into a spiritual path where what I do and what I'm trying to do with my insight is of the most benefit to the most people possible. Not to mention, the way that we dance with our ego and become aware of it is something of a lifelong journey. I am right on track with Carl Jung's schedule because he said you build the ego until you're 40, at which point you start cutting it down. So yeah, I talk about myself a lot and I'm a little self-indulgent, but that is how it is. I try to be pretty transparent about the things that I struggle with, even within, you know, my own self-awareness and how I can be just a more mature embodiment of myself. Some days I'm real calm, some days I'm real worked up. I think everybody can relate to that, right? We're dynamic people for a reason, and that makes me think of something I posted too around the fact that the body's like a garden, and some days you need rain, and some days you need sunshine. So yeah, the first message was about just making sure that you're not judging the emotional components of your experiences right now. And instead of judging, sink into a spiritual quietude where you might allow for some type of information from your inner depths to come forward about how what it is that you're dealing with might be a deeper soul pattern, a deeper soul memory, something that you've worked through for a long time, but never fully come to a head in the way that it is on this timeline, at this point in the space-time continuum that we find ourselves at. I think that people might be impatient with themselves for a number of reasons or something. We'll pull cards on that. The other thing is just really understanding the subtle changes of the body, the light body. I'm going to talk about this in another video, the whole light body stuff. So I'm going to put a pin in it for now. But indigestion, headaches, not yesterday or the day before, but the 4 days prior to that, I can't tell you how, I mean, it's very cold where I'm located, very cold right now. And because of that, I have my heat on. And circulation is funny in the winter, right? My skin's all dry, my kind of achy. I felt like my circulation, particularly from my knee down to my feet, was just like not good. And I was dry brushing my skin. If you don't know what that is, you take a hairbrush and you're brushing your skin because all those little, you know, tips of the brush points moves the finer capillaries in the veins. It's really good to do that if you experience inflammation in different joint areas. Just dry brushing. It's something I've done for a long time because of my knee pain. So I was doing that and using Epsom salts to scrub and clean, you know, my hand joints. Epsom salts are very clarifying, whether or not you have a tub and you can actually soak, or you just do a scrub. I love the exfoliating quality of it. When we're going through deep energy clearings, you actually really want to clean and detox your skin and your body too. I mean, your skin is your largest organ. And we have a lot of dead skin cells, you know, and oils and stuff on our skin. And especially when it's dry out, our bodies go into overproduction mode trying to compensate. And they make us even more oily and stuff. And so that's been just the past week for me, trying to let circulation flow. And not to mention like just itchy surface skin stuff. I'm prone to stress hives. If I get stressed out, I'll get like welts and hives on my body. And I had some of those and I was like, this is fascinating because my body is detoxing so intensely. Like this is an emotional manifestation because I'm not stressed out. You know, the last time I got stress hives, I was stuck in Paris and lost all my luggage and I was in a stressful situation, but it's been months. And I get them again. And it's more so this manifestation of the deep clearing that the body is taking on, because your body is locked into this energy in a way that your mind tries to skip around sometimes, right? Or the mind simply isn't able to hold all of the layers of the energetic truths, you know, kind of sift through like what is from this timeline, that, right? Because quantum, everything's connected. The past life stuff, the this life stuff. This is why I talk about my fingers. Sometimes finger fear. I have past lives of having the power that the hands give the human. Having that be taken away from me is part of my past life, like PTSD really, but there was no reason for me to fear that in this life. But it's not once, not twice, but many times I've had hand accidents in past lives, and a couple in this life. But so indigestion as well. And before I came up here, indigestion, right? I mean, it could, I'm not a medical professional and I do not advise you to listen to me over anybody else. Do what you got to do. Use your intuition. Okay. Sometimes though, when the body's clearing, it's just, you know, excreting all of the density in the ways that it can. The body has certain ways to process its material, right? We sweat through our pores. And I saw this commercial. It's interesting how advertising is changing to meet the growing and evolving collective. And it was this young woman. It was like, you know, one of them TikTok commercials in the style of like, I'm your best friend or your neighbor. I'm just a girl, but I've had such success with this product type of commercial. And she was talking about indigestion and how there's a bunch of poop that gets stuck in people's digestive systems. And her punchline, like the ad started by saying, thin women are thinking that they're plus sized because they're not taking proper shits. I don't know what she said, but I really kind of didn't. I mean, if you think about that from a marketing perspective, there's a significant number of people in the world today who are, especially in America, who are overweight. And so, and there's a lot of reasons for that, but saying like thin women who are mistakenly thinking they're plus sized because they don't have what it is I'm trying to sell you, that's basically some form of laxative, you know, whatever it is. I'm sure it's some healthy probiotic gut product that infuses you with adaptogens, who knows, all the buzzwords on the market these days. But I was just thinking that there's always going to be, and I talked about this in the 2024 forecast reading, it's like, do you have a problem? Come buy a solution instead of undoing that problem and stepping away, right? We go further and further and further into this, you know, we've been deeply inducted into this system. And it's like, okay, well, maybe nobody can take a proper shit because we're eating not the best stuff, you know, instead of continuing to ignore the fact that that system is deeply flawed and people don't have the proper access to good foods. We'll just start giving them something else that will help their bodies that are not vibing with these ingredients and additives. We'll give them something else so that they can like push it out at the end of the day. I'm sorry for saying it like that. But yeah, another thing that comes to mind with this is the whole world of just cosmetic modification and injectables. That's a huge ass industry. And it's increasing. I mean, we do live in the city of the capital from the Hunger Games, from that perspective. I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, those are, you know, the upper people in society, the wealthy, the celebrities, they're always crazy. You have to be crazy to want that life and go be a part of that circus. But that's not really how it is anymore. It's very, very common and normalized, particularly for women, but all sorts of people. And I think about that as far as, like long ago, I used to know somebody and she grew up to be an injectables nurse. And as far as like being a human in society and like helping people, it's like on the one hand, you could say my mission and why I love my job as an injectables nurse is because I get to help women feel like their best self. I think that somebody could say that and genuinely feel that and genuinely have a feedback loop between them and their efforts and their clientele that affirms that mission. And you're delivering results that the people want, and there's an exchange of value through the money that we use. But it's part of a larger system where if our goal is to help women feel like their best self, there are longer lasting solutions, right? Because that subsystem about modifying the vessel and trying to, you know, and I know it's different for everybody. I'm not saying I disagree with it in general, but we cannot deny that it has become a little out of hand, or that's my opinion, but, you know, there's just going to be something else that people reach for and are very willing, almost feel like they have to spend money on. If you feel like you absolutely have to spend money on something, I think that's a pretty good sign that you don't somehow, right? You might have been taking a baited hook without realizing it, because that is how marketing works. And as we know, there's a lot of interplay between the way that things are endorsed on the worldly stage. You've got people who are basically supposed to be, I don't know, neutral entities, but they have different partnerships and they endorse things. So without going further into that, I always want to remind people, because I fall victim to this too. In my most recent video where I wasn't showing my face, but I did a quick 4 a.m. card pull, I was saying that I was like, oh, I can't do my painting. I don't feel good. I need to, because I wear a onesie when I paint most of the time. It's nice to not stain any of my other garments, you know, or just t-shirts and stuff. But anyway, I was like, I need a new painting onesie. Like, our world is designed for us to be able to need and want things and then use that as some type of fruitful pursuit. And young women on the internet, I mean, I'm advertised new stuff every single day to buy, and sometimes it's something like a snappy jacket for my dog. I see it, I'm like, oh, it's perfect. I've never seen such a snappy dog jacket in my life. And I click on it. For a few moments, I'm like, wait, this is not necessary. He would look so good in it, but they know that. That's why it's in front of my face right now. My dog doesn't even like jackets. He looks at me and his eyes start welling up with tears and he won't even move. I mean, his accessibility is compromised. It's just a whole thing. We don't do jackets. A simple bow tie is all. Not to say I don't have a full box of rejected items that I've purchased for him that he has never warmed up to. Butterfly wings, a birthday hat, lots of stuff. But anyway, it's like being able to take back the idea that these instances are different, you know, that something comes out and it's like, oh, I genuinely do need that. I respond to this. Or for me, something happened where I started to disconnect from any of that, where I was like, you know what, if I really am looking at clothes on the internet right now, it's because I want something. There's a spiritual root to people who are just online. I mean, this shopping addictions, right, is a big deal. A lot of people have that without even knowing it. You don't have to have an abundance or excess of money to have that. Actually, I think a lot of people are addicted to shopping and they don't have any money, but it's this strange feedback loop. Like, I think of like mothers of families who work really hard and they provide like maybe like meals, cooking food, but also just constantly going to the store to get stuff. I'm not saying they don't need it, but there's something there. And I will walk over to my closet and I will open it and I will look into it and I will be like, all of you that sit here before me were once new. And I expect to go out and get a couple more items that will make me feel some type of way, myself perhaps, shiny and new. But you guys already did that for me. This is me looking at like my shirts. And it's on me to realize that that's right, the brain chemicals. I want a little dose, a little treat, as us millennial gals call it. Like, I deserve a treat. Yeah, well, we need to start giving ourselves those treats in a free way and in an energetically responsible way. Whereas if I respond to those impulses without identifying the root, then that system kind of owns me. It always knows how to show me a snappy dog jacket and get my money. And I don't want to be a part of that. So that's in the energy today. And what I'd like to do, I'd like to pull two separate interrelated readings. So at a certain point, I guess we'll do 10 minutes and then 15 minutes. This is going to be for the new beginning that's been coming up in my shorts. We had the new moon on the 11th. By the way, my YouTube channel is 1 year old. Wordsmith of the Imperial turned 1. I started the channel on the 18th of January in 2023, but I didn't start consistently posting to it until June. And I used to say, if this is your first video here and you're interested in what I talk about and you resonate with me and my energy, then I would recommend going back to June and starting the videos at the summer solstice and watching all the way through. That is how you're going to get the best amount of like information from me, because the videos are on schedule with the moon to some extent, but they're all timeless really, because there's no way that I could ever make a title that summarizes everything I talk about. I have a lot of pretty random things that come up, because my biggest, thing that I've learned in 2023 is that all the information that comes through as a channeler, it's always there. It's very high frequency. I can see a lot of it. It moves quickly. I am a clairvoyant, clairaudient, claircognizant seer. And the person who gave me feedback about my videos, which I will tell you, kind of took me down a couple pegs. I was like, have I been blind to my own ego gratification by way of the YouTube channel? Like, do people know that? Can you tell that I don't know, that I'm hypocritical because all my messaging is about deconstructing, and then I talked myself off that ledge, because I was like, yeah, I know that there's a lot of people who are going to not resonate with my content, and there are people who will, but my point is that I no longer believe that you need to go back and watch the videos starting in Italy, because we're in a new cycle. So in a few weeks and a few months, I'll be saying that about this time. Go back to now and start watching from this point forth. If you're not interested in listening to like over 100 hours of content, I get it. If you can hear my tummy growling, then ignore it. And just to sum that up, I mean, it's kind of an oxymoron. It's kind of a paradox, like to just hold space on the internet and do something that's like deeply about yourself, me and myself and my journey, without being considered like very self-involved and just engrossed in my own process. I am, but I'm okay with that. I mean, I only have one life and one body and one mind, so I'm very obsessed with my own situations. There's a reason why I didn't start doing this sooner, and it's because that part of me would have compromised any ability to provide collective messages. I've grown a little bit throughout time. So if you have any, like the other comment I got was like, it's very clear that you're searching for the right words and you're trying to make things sound the right way. And it's like, that's true. But please just remember that when I look, wherever I look, whenever I'm looking around or I like space out, that's just part of the way I channel. If you work with energies and channel information, then you understand. But I see different things in different parts of, like, so if I was sitting downstairs, I wouldn't have the same, like there's a light bulb right there. There's a painting I'm working on in front of me. There's vision boards over there. There's a curtain right here. I know what I look at when I sit in my studio, but if I go downstairs to look this way, it shows something else. It doesn't really matter what I'm looking at. It's where my guides are located. I have St. Simon and St. Paul, they stay over here. I get archangels that come in from other, you know, my ancestors are in front of me over there. And there are certain energies that chime in at different times during my channeling to add things, to help me and to help me sort through the visions that I get, which are not channeled. That's me being clairvoyant, sorting through. That's just the way my brain works. It's almost photographic memory, or at least it functions that way when I recall memory. And I bet there are people listening to this who are like, yeah, me too. I know what you're talking about. And it's not like I see it. It's third eye seeing. So I see it. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, I'm not going to keep going with it today. But I just want people to know that I'm not looking around because I can't find the words. It's because there's so much stuff, and I'm just trying to be careful and cautious to make sure that I'm not misconstrued, because there's a lot of stuff that I talk about that's like, you know, you could talk to one person and they'd be like, you're insane. And you could talk to somebody else and they'd be like, yeah, I get it. So it's not my responsibility to sift through that. The people who don't, you know, I need to be comfortable just letting people pass on the information if they're not resonating with it. And I've done a lot of work to release myself from that. But the problem is that when people receive my videos, or I'm so sensitive that I can pick up on the changing dynamic with the channel. You know, I think people who run channels who are intuitives would be able to say the same thing. It's like one person coming to the channel can change the vibe of it, and I can feel their energy. I can tell if somebody comes that's not aligned with me or my messaging. But I don't have any control of that. I don't have any control of that, nor do I want to, nor do I need to, but it still affects me. So I'm learning how to just be like, that's okay. I don't have to try to scoop them in and be like, can I try to appeal to you too? Because their energy becomes part of my space in a way, you know, through the interconnectedness of all things. It doesn't really matter where you come in from to watch something on the internet. We can connect in this way. The other thing about the eye movement that's very important, this can help people, what's it called? Certain kind of like eye tracking therapies. So if I'm recalling, trying to release something that happened, it could be from this life or a past life, it could be traumatic, or it could just be troublesome and something I haven't been able to release. But if you think about it and you have your head still and centered, but your eyes are over here, and then you keep thinking about it and you keep talking about it and you move your eyes across your plane of vision, the way that your brain is processing the event, that will change with your eye tracking. So there's also something with that as far as like me being able to translate information, my eyes. I wouldn't want for people to look at me who do not understand how it feels to channel a lot of energy and be like, I mean, the feedback that I received was actually some of my worst fears with this channel. Like, I wouldn't want people to think I'm just here to indulge myself in how fabulous I think I am, because I do, but I'm allowed to. I've worked very hard to become this fabulous, and people will judge that statement too, right? For whatever reason. But again, it's not my job to manage or think about that. It's like I wouldn't want for people to look at that process and think that it's something that it's not. I don't know what it is myself, right? That's why I'm here. I'm trying to be vulnerable and share what it is I do. And if you've been with me for a few months, what I do has changed a lot. There was even one video a few months ago where I was like, I didn't even know if I was going to use cards. And then I say, it's like clear to me now that I'm a reader. I didn't know that. Of course I had decks, I did readings. I've received readings, you know, with people throughout time. Maybe not card readings, but, you know, energy healings and stuff. And I've had the cards and I've been accumulating even more decks, but yeah. That's our intro, 30-minute intro. So the first 10 minutes is just going to be on this new beginning, just going back to the reading, because I'm going to start doing the cards now. The new beginning, if you know what a calving glacier looks like, it's when large chunks of ice are, they're coming off of the main glacial mass, I'm seeing like these things falling away. There's a great amount of force connected to it. And in one of my videos from last week, I talked about something that feels like, oh, no, it was the video that I most recently posted from 4 a.m. Go watch that one if this reading resonates with you, because these are connected messages. But like some type of piñata or a canoe that's being suspended, it kind of feels, and see how the shadow on my face, it's like we feel that. I feel like I'm in shadow, right? But we as the collective energy, it feels like this negative looming shadow, like it's dark. But actually, what we don't know is that it's coming in, this sensation, this newness, to open up and release things. And it's going to depend how you are able to get out of the universe's way to allow that in. It's going to depend on your own energy and what you're dealing with and all that. But it could be, you know, a massive, a glacial, like avalanche of blessings and newness, or it could be just like little goodies, like trick-or-treating, you know, a couple candies here and there. But the potential to have life-changing blessings is here. And I think if you're listening to me, then you're aware of that and you've already been manifesting it in a certain way. So let's take a card for the current energy with that, the energy to embrace with it, the energy to release with it, the hidden energy, and I get now that we need to talk about this first. Hey, look at this. It's the World card, but she's been reimagined in my new deck. So the World. Biggest sticking point. It has to do with understanding, again, that there's no way to go back to this other way of living or thinking. It's almost like, and I mean, this could be taken the wrong way, so just bear with me. But you know, when the pandemic happened, it was like, oh, well, people want to go back to normal, but we're never going back. The world's changed. You can't go back. It's like a mini one of those happened since New Year. Now, it's been since the 12/12 portal is what I just heard. So there's been another like, oh, your life will never be the same. You didn't know this was a special thing, and maybe you did, you know, but it was. And now we realize that the time in early December / before that, there's been, and this has been under the surface type of energy. It's been the way that we've been managing, navigating, assimilating, changing, continuing to grow and learn while the looming thing's been coming in. Now we kind of see like, oh, I didn't even realize that with everything I've been doing, I can't go back. But you wouldn't want to. But there's this disconnect a little bit around that. With the World, it has to do with knowing that you're not out of your depth. You are able to move into the clearing, out of the woods into the clearing. You are going to be able to receive more sunshine once you get out of the tree canopy. You know, it's going to be able to hit you more, the light that you want to connect with. And by that, I just mean the solution, whatever it is. All people have something that they're trying to do, whether or not it's big or small, even if it's like, I just want to stay, you know, even keel and keep showing up every day. Like sometimes I talk and I think about how somebody could be listening to me and have a very comfortable situation with their physical life and like relationship or marriage or family, normal job in the 3D world, but then a deep like spiritual evolution where they are growing and doing things, and maybe it all just translates into passion projects and those things are separate. I kind of think that if you have that component to you and you're honoring of your spiritual truths and let yourself kind of play and discover that part of yourself, or suspend disbelief and all that, or you're just on the journey, on the healing journey. Because again, sometimes people you don't pick this. It's just how you are. Your soul picks it. The more you get into that, the less you can have any type of separation. That's how I feel. I sort of feel like, I mean, I've always been spiritual. I talk about my spiritual awakening as having begun in 2012. But I mean, before that, I talked to angels when I was a child. And nature elementals and all sorts of stuff, and had strong connections to ET beings that manifested for most of my life into a deep, irreconcilable phobia. which has been cleared up a little bit for me in the last few months with the quantum hypnotherapy healing regression session that I did. I would go watch that video if you didn't watch it. But anyway, let's see what this current energy is with where we find ourselves now. Think about the card from this deck. The world was like this, the eye of the storm. The world card in this deck has these animals. It's like a Noah's Ark thing. It's like, oh my gosh, the world is ending and the tornado came in to sweep up all God's creatures, and you're in the middle and you have to manage it. Wait, well, I tapped on this, so it is, yeah, embrace the in-between, exactly. I meant to tap on this card, but I tapped on this one, and there's a reason for that. And like, there's a lot of beautiful divine feminine energy with these birds here. The pink colors. It's very Aphrodite, Venus, goddess energy. So the current energy is 5 of Cups, okay? The energy to embrace is the 4 of Swords. I haven't shown this card before, so let me do that. The energy to release is the King of Swords. Okay. All right, okay. Look at that too, that's cool. So we need to do some healing. We need to do some healing. And I wrote something about what I believe is a twin flame connection, and I put it on my website as one of my blog posts, but then I deleted it because even though it's a piece of writing, it had a lot of energy in it. And I sat with it for like a day or two, and a couple people read it, and that's what I wanted. And then I deleted it because I didn't really feel like it was right to just leave that piece of writing sitting there. It tells a lot about me and my experience with that concept. But I obviously tried to only talk about how I feel, not about the other person that I was writing about. And the whole thing sort of left off as me being like, there's a conclusion here. You know, the piece of writing is over, therefore so is the thing. But that's not true. Every day is different. Not to mention, I talked about how I felt like meeting this person helped me to realize certain things about myself. It's much more than that. I will not go into it in this video, but the thing that I want to say is that it took me several months to realize how much like I was healing the relationships with my parents as well. And this person whom my passage was about doesn't know my parents. My parents don't know him. You know, I think that I've done a lot of healing that wouldn't make sense to anybody. I mean, I know that we have this eye of the storm thing, but it's like where you are, I mean, you can know somebody over here. You can know somebody over here. If you're the connection point between all the different facets of your life, which you are, you know, you're like this central thing and all these things run through you. You know, you've had certain conversations, you've made certain friendships, you come from your parents, you know, you have your kids, whatever it is. That's unique. That combination is unique. And so there's this element of healing that we're doing right now where there are certain things that we might be going through. They could be challenges, they could be victories, but they're informing very different parts of our lives that are far away from that. And for some people, that could be past life energy where it's like, I don't want to go out and venture into how that could manifest, but I know that that's a thing. Okay, very much collectively, I just want to declare that I believe that if you're going through something and you're not really able to reckon with the potency of your emotional quality because of whatever it is that you're going through, sit with yourself and ask your dreams or whoever you talk to, the universe, God, angels, Jesus, whatever you want, Buddha. Ask to be shown what it is that's being released. If you don't have dreams or process the energy that way, then don't worry, because you actually don't need to know. That's another thing that's good to remember, is that if you do access that information, then it's because you're ready to hold, more and process it. But if you don't, you're not missing anything. Your soul knows. What happens within you as a result of that will start to change you. So it's neither good nor bad. But without a doubt, a lot of the things that we're going through are to finally clear up past life karma so that we can do more than we've ever done in those past lives now. And another part of that is realizing, and I'm seeing just the backs of these cards too, again, with like the central thing, there's a lot of reflections in our lives that we might not be picking up on right now. It's because our eyes are closed and we're feeling a little bit disadvantaged in some way or another, but this isn't the strongest energy in the reading, nor am I concerned about it. Clarify it. Yeah, Five of Cups is our current energy. So again, crying over spilled milk, not being able to necessarily see how certain things, whether or not we've judged them beneficial or inconvenient, they're leading us somewhere new. And we want to go to the place that we're going to. Because where we go to is going to be underneath the piñata when the treats drop out. So with our energy to embrace as the Four of Swords, take that time to connect with yourself. We're releasing the King of Swords. So it's like we thought that there was this surge of new energy and we were going to be, in this masterful new space. But when we move into that space, we feel naked, we feel vulnerable. But there's also like that, it's like a goddess energy where she doesn't have to hide herself. She can just stand there and be as she is and not have to be so, strong. Or when it comes to swords, it's about truth and clarity. Swords, people are very direct because they're often right. And they see the truth. But I love this depiction of a Native American man on the King of Swords because all the characters in the first edition of this deck are white, number one. And then, secondly, that's a different culture. He's not a king he doesn't look like the other guy. He has a wisdom that comes from the land. But it also comes from just being inside. And I think I because of this cauldron, there's a gong, smoke signals, apparitions, ghosts. The quality of that, right? King of Swords, swords being air. There's stuff that's moving through right now. And it's like, with our energy to embrace, we're letting that happen. We're witnessing. Try to be a wise witness to the things that are happening instead of feeling dejected or frustrated that maybe it could be that you're not already there or that you have to go somewhere else. Let's get a clarifier for that sticking point. I've cut my deck up, so I'm going to put it back together and I'm going to shuffle this card out. Clarifier for this Five of Cups and the Six of Swords. Well, you saw, it came out right away. You want to know what it is? We're going to get one more immediately just to clarify it. Yeah, it's because we have an idea about moving towards love and harmony and balance. It could be that you have a specific individual in your life that this pertains to, or it could be about your own ability to move away from things where you weren't as healed and you were taking up space in relationships that took far more out of you than you got back in return. And you spent time in places where you weren't honored as an equal balanced pair. Sometimes when people do not feel that they're honored as an equal balanced pair, they just let it be so, and they fill the void, or they start to function in a way that is outside of their scope, in a way that compromises them. But it's very common to have these imbalanced relationships in the world today. What did I watch recently? It was a woman talking about marriages and perimenopause and how a lot of couples end up being completely non-sexual over time. And one of the reasons for that is that when women are in the child-rearing era, hormonally, their libido will increase because their body is focused on it. The body knows, it's like, well, I just had all these kids, now all these kids are around, and they're not having sex. They're raising the children. But if the woman becomes the only person within the household that has that quality with the kids, or domestic upkeep, then the man slips into the group of children for whom she caretakes, and her sexual energetic dynamic with that individual will change. And so in order to maintain a caring relationship, and this is energy, so you can be whoever and however you want, masculine, feminine energy, I'm just talking about it energetically. But to maintain like the sharpness of polarity that keeps these things on an even keel, it has to do with men making sure that they're taking, you know, like accountability for how they show up in the world so that they don't fall into being another kid in the family. That's very common. That's very common with like families today. And then we've got women in our over masculine functioning society who are like, I mean, resentful of that, but don't know why it's happening, or feel really good about it because they, you know, we honor masculine energy and success in society more than feminine prowess. And so for her, that could look like winning and keeping the whole household together. She doesn't even care that they don't have sex, you know? So anyway, I mean, that was a tangent of a thing. But what I'm talking about is the fact that whether or not you're actually connected to somebody, I believe that there's a lot of changes that come from what we've been through, and a lot of the karma that we've cleared from the cycle. For me, I couldn't have said, I mean, I talked a lot about 2014, 2015, and 2018. For the past 6 months, those 3 years for me have been a lot of like the lessons and the learning that I've been reaching back into my little arsenal of memories and experiences. There are certain things that are starting to come up from different eras for me now. And it's the same thing. Like over the summer, I was like, I can't believe I forgot about that. How could that happen to me and me not remember that? How could a person go through that and not remember that that had happened to them? Good or bad, unusual or neutral, there are just certain things that we don't remember. And when we remember them, there's a reason for that. I tend to see it as like, imagine the arm of a, what's it called? Turntable, like a vinyl record. The topography of that vinyl thing, right? That's how it scratches along. Or one of those, when it charts like heart activity, that little mechanical arm that's like wobbling, right? It's like we're going through our lives in the present moment, and then it skips up against something, and what it's touching, that thread runs all the way back till 2018. That's where I get back into like the twisty diagrams of interconnectedness. If you don't know what I'm talking about or you haven't watched me before, then stay tuned. I'll explain it again sometime soon. I kind of always return to it. So the clearing that we've done is helping us know that we're going somewhere new to be in a space of balance. And it's going to be true. It's not going to be this pipe dream. It's not going to be this unattainable thing. People are starting to realize that it's not that love doesn't exist. All the cynics of the world, right? It's not that it doesn't exist. It's that it's so unfortunately common for people to have no idea how to give it to themselves and others. And once you realize that it exists and you're worthy of it, you think about things that you've been through, you move in a new direction, and we want to do that now, but it's not just that, right? There's this other thing that has more to do with like our whole beingness. Our whole beingness changing from state to state as we're in the in-between. And it's time for a deep dive, and what I'm getting with that, and I'll pull cards in just a second. I know I'm at 48 minutes, but I'm doing better than I used to be. I've decided that I don't think it's like good for me to record 2-hour-long messages. I don't think anybody watches them in full anyway. If you do, you're a champion. Thank you. I mean, power to you. I believe that what I share is beneficial, so you're welcome. No, I'm kidding. Only a little bit, but it's not productive. It's not good for the viewer. It's not good for me. So I'm gonna try to start doing shorter ones so that people can take the time, you know, that they have in any given day to listen to them. So this will start to be kind of the longer end of things. Of course, I declare that now, and that's not going to be the case, but So the hidden energy was the world. As we are doing this healing, this deep dive, this unfolding, unfurling, allowing for certain things that seemed to be, you know, allows something over here to change the way you think about something over here. Our lives are not so separate. Even when we have people in our lives who do not know each other, you're this cruxing thing that everything that you've ever seen, everybody that you've ever interacted with, all of that kind of intersects within you. No one else has held the same amount, the same quality of connection in the same way that you have. So I want to get a clarifier for this Page of Swords energy, 6 of Swords, 5 of Cups. My question is, what's going to help us feel more united energetically as we move through the new beginning for the new beginning? What's going to help us feel more united right now? Oh, wow. This card was flipped over. It didn't stick out, but it was looking at me. It was in here. So death and transformation. What's going to make us feel more united is knowing that just like nature, everything dies, right? But then it's reborn. There are cyclical things happening. So, I'm also seeing a child on it's a toddler, it's crawling, and it's trying to crawl to the place beneath the piñata that's going to open, that we feel in the ethers around our own efforts. It's almost like karma, right? If you have put in work and you've tried to change your ways, you do get karma for that. That's the beautiful thing. It's kind of horrifying sometimes when we realize some of the things that we've done when we've been in karmic entrappings, because we resent ourselves and we think, how could we have done this and all that? But it's the web, right? The unraveling of it, the horror. It's like, well, it's already done. So the emotions, the punishing, the not being able to grapple with that, that's the only thing at this point that keeps that energy active. That's why forgiveness is so important. Forgiveness is the thing that's going to ever allow you to continue to fortify yourself, because no matter how bad something has been that's been done to you or somebody else, if you can find a way to see the humanity within the other person and their injuries, not to give them the benefit of the doubt, but just to make sense of it. It doesn't mean it was okay, but when you can make sense of it, then you can forgive them. Because in the same way that I've talked about with like celebrities who are doing really bizarre things, it's like, that could have been you. That could have been me. Really, we're all just born into certain circumstances, and we know what we know and we don't what we don't. And forgiveness is never going to go out of style or stop being a way to move on and release yourself from certain things. A lot of people think that they need to hold certain grudges because there's no way that they're ever going to let that happen again to them, blah, blah, blah. That's convoluted. I mean, you're going to be manifesting in experiences that validate the fact that you're like, you know, defensive and guarded from the truth of being able to experience what it is, that experience, whatever harmed you in your past. You're basically saying it's still right. It's still affecting me. I'm still not worthy of something because of something that happened long ago. In spiritual truth, the energetics of that are very self-imposed, but people don't understand that because of trauma and trauma bonding and all this different stuff. So I'm not going to go too deeply into that, but that feels powerful to me, just acknowledging the death card again. Actually, I'm going to cut the deck and get another animal to talk about this right now. Yeah. It's Otter Spirit, and it says you're never alone. The Hierophant. The Hierophant. There are certain things that we're going through that feel very deeply personal and almost lonely. But you are not alone, because these things are scripted into your soul path, your soul contract. Even if there are some tough lessons, right? That's okay. We're tough cookies. We can learn those lessons. I don't want to take the time to share this, but it's kind of silly, so I will. My mother was always very supportive of my creativity, even when it was kind of strange. And I was very excited every year as a child to draw my birthday invitation. And then she'd go to, you know, the photocopy place and get a bunch printed out. And then I could send them out to my friends as birthday invitations with my custom drawing. And I had a very specific idea every year of what I wanted my birthday invitation to look like. And one year it was just a 8.5 by 11 square piece of paper. And like the top, I had just drawn a bunch of triangles and written triangles. And then down here on this border, it was a bunch of circles. And I said circles. And you got squares, diamonds. So geometric border for whatever reason. And then it was a picture of a rat. This is a hand-drawn cartoon of a rat that had been run over by a car. And its tail had tire marks on it. So it was like roadkill. There was a rat lying in the road with its tail with track marks on it. And there was like a house cat trotting up to it, seeing that it had been hit by a car. And there was a speech bubble coming out of the cat's mouth. And the cat was saying, "Wow, comma, you're a tough cookie." That was it. That was the whole birthday invitation. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I was like with my mother. And every time I see her, she's like, "Hey, do you want this? I found this." And we look at it together, and it was a bunch of artwork and stuff from my childhood. And I was like, why would you let me send this out to everybody? Weren't you embarrassed? Like, what does this mean? I mean, we were like crying, laughing, because I was like, okay, what does it mean? I'm turning 8 years old. Do you want to come to my house? There's going to be, it's at 3 p.m. There's going to be cake. Here's a picture of a rat I drew getting hit by a car, earning the respect of a house cat. I mean, it's kind of complex if you think about it, because it's a reversal of the dynamic. We have the predatory animal and then the victim in the rat's position. There's like a Tom and Jerry thing going on where like the cat is like, wow, you didn't die and you got hit by a car. It just made me think of that, because I think that there are some tough lessons, but your ability to handle tough lessons is your ability to just, you know, let the alchemy of life make you stronger instead of break you down. King of Pentacles, to clarify that. Again, it's very important to let children do what it is that they want to do creatively. And I know for a fact that I did very strange things, but my mother let me be me. And that's important, because if I had been born to a different family that tried to compromise my gifts even more than my gifts were compromised, because anybody who's born deeply spiritual does, like, I think, struggle a little bit. So, I mean, and my mother has been my mother's been my sister in past lives, and I've been her mother in past lives. And so our dynamic has always been very interesting. And we've basically always known that. I mean, even when I was a baby and I couldn't talk, my mom was like, I kind of feel like you don't need me. And I was like, no, I'm good. And she was like, but you're my baby. I haven't always been the easiest person to parent. And there's something else that I want to talk about and share. It has to do with one of my cognitive behavioral therapy mindfulness tools, the kite. The kite. The kite is very important to me, the kite symbolism. I've talked about it in the way of like kite and anchor. So keeping your crown chakra very open and connected while staying very rooted down into the earth. The video is too long to tell that story, but that one has to do with my dad and past life energy. So, I also urge you at this time, if you are going through difficult things that have to do with other people, or breakups, or confusing things, or family, whatever it is, really, really think about, you know, it's never, for me, it's never like, do we have a past life together? No, yeah, the answer is yes. The answer is almost always yes. And it doesn't really matter who it is. I can have a past life memory about somebody at the store who I've never seen before. maybe we just needed to come together one more time, have one little interaction, work out that karma, and go our separate ways. But I've met people with whom I have very deep and profound past life memories or knowings or understandings or visions about, then they move on. There's a certain component to this where we all have past lives together because we're all source energy. The fact that I'm even separate from you speaking here is because all of the matter decided to become bodies and people and explore. And now we're trying to figure out what we want to do with that. And we're starting to realize that a lot of people have become very smart to what that's like, and they're using that machine to manifest things that aren't beneficial to the whole. And that's like cutting off your nose to spite your face. So when people get all worked up about the conspiracies and stuff, it's like, I mean, in some ways, the subsets of universal love force energy that have been created, these subfields, they're like hiding. It's like they don't want to have to acknowledge or something, but they do know, and it's willful. By the way, I say the word choicefully a lot, and that's not a word. I'm aware of that. I just like saying it, and it makes more sense to me than willfully does. Willfully, because willfully sounds like woefully. So I say choicefully. But anyway, we're not going to go on that tangent. Now I'm going to take one angel answer oracle to finish the reading. I really hope that everybody's doing well today. And I have another special announcement. Special announcement is that I have 3 different readings available. 2 of them are pre-recorded, where I would do basically a tarot reading spread for you about whatever it is you want and tap into your energy. And the descriptions of these are on the website under the services tab. The 3rd one is an in-person, quote unquote. It's like a live call where we get to talk, but there's no cards involved. I mean, I could pull cards if you wanted to, but I'm not at a point where I can hold space for another person in channel for longer than 30 minutes. So that one's pricier because it's us conversing, but it's 30 minutes. I'm adding a 4th reading to my offerings for the 1st quarter. If you're interested in doing this, it's $121, okay? There's no time limit on it, but I can guarantee they'll probably be 2 hours long. And what it is basically your own personal 2024 forecast, just like I did for the collective. And I'll give you an energetic forecast for quarters 1, 2, 3, and 4 for this year. I'm only going to offer it until probably mid-February because at that point the energy is underway and I don't want to read into that. I would prefer to just offer these at the start of the year if people want that. I mean, it wouldn't be as involved as like the 3-hour saga that I posted for the 2024 readings because that was collective and I had been cultivating that information and trying to filter through those messages for weeks. But I just want people to know that I'm doing that. And here's the other thing about receiving comments about my ego and whatnot. This is my YouTube channel. I am just a girl, you know. I'm a 29-year-old, 16-year-old just having fun. I'm allowed to do whatever I want. However, I'm a practitioner and I've started my own business. My LLC is open. It's called the Healing Art Emporium. And I've got a lot of stuff that I'm going to be making and doing. And I'm meant to be not only an educator, but a healer. And I know this about myself. And so the YouTube channel is one thing, but if you were to have a session with me, I would show up in a different way. I would not talk the way that I always talk in these videos to you in that space because I would be working with you and for you. So I want people to know that. It's the same, I mean, we have different caps for different ways, you know, and the purpose of this channel for me was to be able to move the energy in a way that benefits me. Why are you calling me? That's bizarre. It's a random, can't answer it right now. So I would only recommend doing that reading if you are, I mean, like actively manifesting stuff, because I wouldn't want to bring through a bunch of information. Well, I mean, I'm guided and I filter down information that I channel for people. but I wouldn't want to bring through a lot of stuff that isn't resonant in the moment. Sometimes the messages, and if you've watched me for a while, maybe you can say that this is true or not, but a lot of the things that I say, whether or not I know it, are designed to be just a little seed. It starts to bloom later. And I started to learn that when I was young. I was like, I guess I'll take what I can get. If I can't get people to understand me, then I'll just plant seeds and I'll watch them bloom from afar. And I started to do that. And then when those flowers bloomed, those people would come back and be like, I think I kind of understood what you meant 5.5 years ago. And I was like, I'm glad. Sometimes I never get that confirmation. It's not about me, but it is about saying the truth, right? And honoring what it is you need to say. And so I think that the information that would come through with a personal quarterly reading, a lot of it is pertaining to months and months out, right? And I will tell you that as the person that brings messages through, I don't always know what it means. We can ask together. I can always get more information and read into things. But that's why it's a paid service that is best done, you know, privately between two people, if you're interested in going deeper in that way. The other thing about the sessions, regardless of whether it's one of the shorter ones, regardless of whether it's pre-recorded or over the phone or video, is that I will be sending you an intake form because it helps you to clarify whether or not you want to do this with me. I mean, it's not that much money. I think my cheapest session is $44, 30 minutes, a little bit of insight. But the intake form prompts you to think about a couple things, and then it also helps me to receive your energy, and I will be meditating. I know for a fact that if you book a session, I already get messages for you before the session, before we even talk. That's just how it works, right? Because time is flexible. So as soon as you make contact with me, I will begin to channel for you so that when we meet during our session, I already have some things to say based on what it is that you're bringing to the table for your highest good and healing. So enough about that. Email me if you want to know more. I would be absolutely thrilled to do a session with anybody who has found the channel or likes my messages or needs help in any way. If I'm not the person to help you, I will tell you that. All right, we're going to do 3 cards, okay? You can have 3 questions. You can pause the video to come up with them. You can have 1 question that all 3 cards answer, or it's a pick a pile. So pick 1, 2, or 3 and ask your question. I'm going to cut the deck actually. This card always comes out. The first answer is listen to your intuition. Now, I kind of give an eye roll because this deck is the answers deck. I want an answer, darn it. Listen to your intuition is kicking it back on us to be like, you have the answer. And I like this because I did a short yesterday and the card Lady Venus came out. And there's something connecting back here for me right now with like this vulnerable, this naked goddess energy that's just like, 4 of Swords-y. It's also giving temperance with like this deep healing. Perhaps if you feel out on your own or confused about anything right now, it is because the universe is asking you to listen, because the answer will come. I'm just going to say there have been certain times where I feel like I'm not getting as many messages and I don't know. This is longer ago. Now I'm stable. But this is a while ago, and I would wonder, you know, like, why do I not feel as whatever? It was because I was going through something that was unlocking a different part of my gifting. And it felt like I was being abandoned by all my guides or something, you know, which is impossible. But I wasn't receiving the same level of information. And it was because my energy was reassembling itself, reassimilating to open little trap doors, you know, that I hadn't really given as much weight. Because regardless of guides and angels and beings that you might work with, ascended masters, you still are a very powerful soul in your own body with your higher self. I know people who don't work with any other beings and they just do their higher self and their intuition. And that's fine. For where I'm at right now and how I see the state of the world, I would never go anywhere without my angels and my guides. It's rough out there. I'm not going out there alone. I need that safety and protection. I'm highly sensitive. And I'm not a medium. I will see them sometimes as in light orbs, or I know they've got voices, basically, tones, you know, for their messages. Like, I understand who's talking to me when, but I don't see them. I don't see them. Mediums, I think if somebody came to, if I was around a medium, and by the way, when you're out in public, you have no idea who's psychic. You have no idea who's a medium. I mean, if you are, maybe you feel that way about someone else because like recognizes like. But there are people out and about. Sometimes I get somebody like staring at me and I'm like, I wonder if you can see everything that's going on over here. Because what they would say is like, you got a lot of beings with you. Be like, yeah, I know. I know that. I'm never alone. I didn't want to be. And there was a point in time when I felt very, very, very lonely. And I hope that that's not you right now. But you are never alone. All right, answer 2. Meditation brings answers. This for me, I think, has to do with what it is I was talking about with trying to kind of piece together these larger emotional cataclysmic things with potentially past life energy or younger traumas. The situation will improve. Okay? All right. Well, thank you for sitting with me today if you chose to listen to the reading. And I hope that everybody's doing really well. And I'm about to do a massive cleaning of every last surface in my space. I'm going to end the video so we can be at 111. Okay, love you, bye.